Welcome to my 2026 bug bounty review. I'm Yaksek and I help people get good at bug bounty. So the question is, how well did I do? This is an unscripted video, so I'm just made this few PowerPoints and I'm going to go over basically what my progress in bug bounty was like. I only started bug bounty last year, so in 2025 was when I first got into bug bounty. So if you're expecting that in my first year I made 100 grand or something, then this is not a video for you. This is really the reality of what bug bounty is like. It's hard. It's hard. If people tell you it's easy, they're either a genius or just lying to you because it's not. It's not easy. And I'm going to show you how I did semi full time bug bounty hunter. Will say I'm also actually what you call. I'm 19 years old. I'm a computer science student, so I'm not a full-time bug bounty hunter, but I've spent a lot of time on it. I'd say I spend about 28 hours a week on bug bounty, along with college. So obviously, I have some other obligations there. And I live in Ireland, which is a very expensive country to live in. So the things that you see here, my paycheck that I'm going to show you later, it's going to not be very large when you compare it to living in Ireland because it's one of the most expensive countries in the world. It's the third most expensive country in Europe, as far as I know. Therefore, the money does not go really go a long way here. That's my background. I have no certifications in hacking whatsoever. I don't really feel a need to do them if I'm doing bug bounty. I don't have any college degrees, so there's no professor telling me what to do. I don't have any. Well, I am in college now. I will probably have a degree at some point, but I don't have one right now in cybersecurity or any sort of diploma or something like that. So everything I've learned is purely off of Sensei YouTube. I don't even know anyone in real life that does bug bounty. So literally, I just watched YouTube videos and practiced bug bounty on like these websites or whatever. So I don't have any special advantages over you. There's just nothing here that separates me from like the crowd. I'm literally just like a normal fella sitting in my bedroom, just trying to, get good at bug bounty. So no advantages there. I am a long time coder though, so I have coded for about 8 years at this point. I started when I was 11, so that's one of the things I know. I know how computers work. I know how developers think, which I think does give me a slight edge over some people when I do bug bounty, especially when you're looking at the more critical type of vulnerabilities and the high severity ones, which often rely a lot on implementations and the assumptions developers make. I was also a game developer, not really that important, but yeah, that's what I spent most of my time coding. Absolutely useless when it comes to bug bounty. Maybe it wouldn't have been useless if I actually thought of the idea of hacking games like Steam or whatever, but I'm not that smart, so I guess I just didn't do that. Instead, I decided to hack companies that I used like once in my life, and that's it basically. So that's what I think. And what's my bug bounty journey? Well, I told you I started last year. I started learning though as of November 2024. So basically, like about 2 years ago at this point, in 2026. That's when I started learning. I didn't get an actual bug in like anything. Like I tried for a while, but I couldn't find a single like even free vulnerability in like any program until April. So that's what 6 months of learning. So to see how time consuming it is. I told a few of my friends that basically, yeah, you can make money through bug bounty, but it's gonna take a while. This is what I mean. It's gonna take a lot of time of learning of just making not even any cent from this. That's one of the things that happened to me. Well, pretty soon after that, I did get my first bug in May of 2025. It was some like weird outdoor vulnerability on our program. It was a public bug bounty program, although they didn't reward me a lot for it, which is yeah pretty expected for a first vulnerability. I got $200 for this outdoor, and since I've been hacking ever since May 2025, I'm going to be looking at the 8 month period. So between May of 2025, where I got my first bug, and December 2025, where I'm now recording this video in January. So I'm going to be evaluating my progress over those 8 months and basically calculating it based on that. So what's the grand total? The grand total of 2025. How much did I make from bug bounty as a 19-year-old bug bounty hunter? No work experience in cybersecurity, no college degree, no nothing. Let's see. I made $7,095 over 8 months. And you can see here, this is over these two platforms. So HackerOne, you can see this top number here for some reason is the actual amount I got paid. And then on BookRoute, I made 5,600. So most of the money I made was on BookRoute. And if you're wondering what programs it was, most of it was Atlassian, Asana, and here it was Slack and Stripe. So those are the main programs that I hacked on. So that's basically what my progress here is. Is this an impressive number? Not really. No, it's not really that impressive as a number. However, is it a realistic number? Yes, this is a realistic number that I think a lot of people can achieve. There are people, like I see YouTube videos of people that found like $25,000 vulnerabilities in their first year. I mean, good on you, but also fuck you, making me feel bad. But yeah, some people do get. I don't even want to say lucky. Some people might just have a talent for it as well, or they might have worked extra hard. I do have obligations like college and school and whatever as well. So I'm not here like 24/7. I do also have a social life, so that probably is a disadvantage there in terms of bug bounty. But that's the amount I made, and I think that this is a very reasonable amount for most people to be able to make from bug bounty in their first year. And definitely you can make more. You can probably make around $10,000 if I spent the whole month actually doing this. So if I was a bug bounty hunter from January, then I probably would have made about 10,000, which is fairly reasonable. I've seen people make similar amounts on their first year, so nothing really out of the ordinary there. That equates to between May and December, so the 8 month period, about $887 per month. If you live in America, or if you live in, you're a European person like me, you make about 756 euro, which is per month not a lot. Not a lot, to be honest. And yeah, as a student though, this is quite a lot as a student though, because things tend to be cheaper. You get a little bit of government funding, and I also have a scholarship which helps me here. So this is a decent bit of money if you are a student, and just enough to, fuck off on holidays every once in a while, which is nice. So this is really what you can be earning if you put a lot of your time into bug bounty. This really could be you in 2026. Like for real, you could probably even make more than me if you're just slightly better. You can definitely make more than me here if you listen to my advice and shit. So you can definitely make a lot of money from this. A lot of money, yeah. You can make this bit of money here, and this is very realistic to make. Even if you're like naturally bad or something at bug bounty, you're just never don't even know how a computer works, you can probably achieve this amount as well through persistence and determination, of course. And what's interesting is my top vulnerability types, which number one is third-party misconfigurations. Two is broken access control, and three is race conditions. So here's the breakdown of how much money I made from each of these. So third party is 2,500. You can see broken access control and race conditions are pretty close together at 1,900 and 1,800 respectively. The other vulnerability types, I don't think this adds up to 7,000. The other vulnerabilities were some like weird logic bugs, or like some, I got like an informational where I got paid as well for some reason. And yeah, those kind of bugs, they make up about, I think, 900 as well of the surplus here. What's interesting is that I found absolutely zero cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. I found no server-side request forgery vulnerabilities either. I didn't find any, obviously, like remote code executions. I didn't find any, what else? XML, external entity type vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities that a lot of people kind of teach you at first, especially cross-site scripting. I don't know if I'm just stupid or something, but I think cross-site scripting is a very hard vulnerability type to find, especially since I only hack on public programs. I don't hack on private programs at all, just because I don't think they pay very well for some of these vulnerabilities, and I also don't use any of them. Like a couple of companies do, private programs, like governments as well do them. But I don't use their websites, so I don't really want to hack on them. They're just boring, like financial companies all the time as well, like car companies for some reason. So I'm not very interested in private bug bounty programs, and these are vulnerability types that I found on public bug bounty programs particularly, and none of them were cross-site scripting vulnerabilities or server-side request forgery vulnerabilities. There's some other bugs that I found over the 8 month period. So the first one is the first bug I ever found, which is the vulnerability disclosure program. This was a race condition as well. My first vulnerability type, a race condition, and also one of my top ones. So that's nice to see this one. I definitely like promoting this type of vulnerability because I think it is missed a lot. I think this is a very underrated vulnerability, in particular race conditions. I think it does actually take a lot of creativity though, is the one thing. It's not like, it's not like broken access control where you can just test two different payloads and say, oh, if can I do this if I'm not logged in? These kind of like robotic type bug bounty hunters where they go in and they like just have like a massive Excel spreadsheet of what they have to test, and they go back testing it like authorized, unauthorized, admin, user. Like this, I can't do that. That's boring. So I don't do those things. I like vulnerabilities like race conditions because they require a little bit of creativity and imagining, oh, what happens if I do these two things at once? What happens if I send this 20 times? What will the server do then? I find that very fun. So that's why race conditions are one of my top vulnerability types, and it's also why I would recommend them to you as well. I found 7 duplicates. Ouch, that's a lot of money that I wasted. 7 duplicates probably comes around to about $2,000-3,000. Most of these were obviously mediums or low types that are not huge, but still that's a lot of money. And then 5 of them got rejected. 3 of these were duplicates. So I had 4 duplicates which were actual vulnerabilities and 3 which got rejected. And then one of them was like when I was starting out, I reported some like Google Maps API key leak or something like that, and obviously I got rejected because no one gives a fuck about that. And then I also had one where it was a GraphQL denial of service, and then I got in trouble because I wasn't supposed to do that. And also they didn't give a shit either, so I didn't get any money for that. That's the other bugs. Duplicates hurt a little bit. Unfortunately, it's just you can't really do anything about it though. You just report a vulnerability. If it's duplicate, oh well. I mean, you can't do anything. It's still worth reporting them, I think. You might get you do get invitations to private programs also based on duplicates. So if you find a duplicate that's a valid vulnerability, you get like more invitations to private programs. So I do think that it is worth reporting them. I don't really hack on private programs as I mentioned before, but sometimes you do get one which is kind of interesting, so it's worth reporting this anyway just to get those numbers up and stuff. And yeah, these rejected ones, yeah, just don't report bullshit vulnerabilities basically because I'll just get rejected and it's a complete waste of time. And yeah, those Google Maps API key ones, you just, yeah, no one cares about that. And then some advice for 2026, which I think is going to help me make more money. I'm hoping to make hopefully about 20,000 next year, taking into account that I'm working from January to December, so the whole year, and I'm hopefully going to find more high and critical vulnerabilities as my experience goes up. So what I'm going to tell myself is to stick to about 2 to 3 programs instead of like switching between what I did at the start was switching to a new program like every day. That's not going to find you any vulnerabilities. Well, it's going to find you ones, but they're all going to be duplicates or like low ones that no one cares about. And that's those like Google Maps API keys and stuff. So you want to be looking at 2 to 3 programs. You want to be analyzing them in depth. You want to get used to all of their services, to all of the backends that they use, and that's going to make it much more likely that you're going to find critical vulnerabilities on them. So that's what I'm going to tell myself to stick these programs, and it's also what I recommend to you. And what I want to do is also focus on new features. And I think this is a mistake that I made this year. It's a mistake that I think cost me a bit of money and a lot of time is focusing on features that were already very well tested. I'm not saying to not test these features, right? Old features, they still can have vulnerabilities, right? However, most of the money I made is what I noticed. About $3,000 to $4,000 was based on new features that were just added, and they were also the easiest vulnerabilities to find, requiring much less mental effort to think of. That's why this year I want to up basically, I guess you can call this recon. Yeah, recon, which is just finding new features to test on instead of just looking at the old ones. This does really play a difference in bug bounty, and it played a much bigger difference than I thought it would. Like this paycheck here, 7,000. If I had purely tested new features instead, probably could have been 9 or 10,000 instead. So that's what I'm going to tell myself in 2026 is to basically focus on this recon side. It doesn't have to be like subdomain enumeration, but even paying attention to like release notes on like document websites and stuff, this really helps you make more money. And the third thing, which is what a lot of people tell you, is to aim for high severity vulnerabilities. The thing with this is that if you're looking at high severity vulnerabilities, the reality is that you're going to be you're going to be reporting less vulnerabilities, and it's going to take you longer to find them. The reason why a lot of people, including me, default to looking for like these IDOR type vulnerabilities that no one really cares about is because when they start looking for these high severity ones, they actually find that they don't report as much, or they go like 1 or 2 months without finding anything, and that's pretty common. The reason is because developers will be securing the high severity aspect of their application. If you're a developer, what we're going to spend the most time securing is the parts that actually are the most sensitive. They're going to spend the most time actually testing it, and the security teams are going to be looking at it as well. That's why the high severity bugs take longer to find. But when you do find them, the payout is much bigger. In bug bounty, what the payouts are always exponentially large. So with the critical vulnerabilities being down here and the low ones being at the bottom. That's why in terms of your time investment, which is often linear, it's still beneficial to look at the high severity vulnerabilities. So high to critical is what I want to be looking at. And that's my advice for 2026, the things that I could think of that I could have improved in this year and that I could have made more money on, and that I'm also passing to you so that hopefully you can grow with me. If you haven't found any books so far, then obviously take this on board as well. And yeah, I just want to say good luck in 2026. Bug bounty's hard, and don't think yourself too don't be too harsh on yourself is what meant to say. Remember that this is how much I made. If you made more than me, then congratulations. Leave a comment in the description. And in general, then leave a comment in the description saying how you did in 2026. Just a bit of accountability from other people, especially on this channel. And if you have any advice, actually, you can leave it as well. If you have anything that you could have improved on in 2025, then leave it as a comment in the description. And I'd love to hear from you. I would love to read your comments on how you did in 2026, what kind of advice you might look for, so what kind of things you'd like to me to talk about next. And yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for watching and happy hunting.